You've cut your reel and you're ready to show it to the world, but there's hundreds of other motion designers out there. So here's 7 tips to make your reel stand out and make it easier to hire you. Hi, I'm Adam Annett. This is The Video Shop. I've been a motion designer for over 20 years and hired both full-time and freelance staff. In that time, I've watched hundreds of showreels. I've noticed things which have really impressed me and other things which were frankly bloody infuriating. This isn't a tutorial on how to put a reel together, although I've got a couple of tips on that too. This is about making sure your reel gets seen. Then when it does, the client wants to hire you, not the other guy. In fact, don't even watch this video, just bear this in mind. Make it as easy as possible for them to hire you. We'll come back to this a lot. Okay,
this doesn't look fair.
Let's get started. Give your thumbnail some love. Some motion designers forget that clients should want to click on their reel. I don't want to embarrass anyone out there, so let me embarrass myself. Take my 2022 reel. The thumbnail is just my logo. Or you might use a grab for one of your clips, like here with my 2010 reel. Jesus, I'm old. Compare that to this, or this. These thumbnails make me want to hit play. They show the breadth of work, and also that they've considered the design. Blimey, a motion designer who bothers with design. Who'd have thought it? It's such a simple and easy thing to do, just spending 20 minutes creating a bespoke thumbnail. Make some effort with your bookends. This is how one motion designer opened their reel. After the static opening card, the reel itself was actually pretty good. Again, I'm not out to embarrass anyone here, but the first few seconds of your reel are critical. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression and all that. Trust me though, some clients are busy and may stop watching if they see something as low effort as this. You're better off having no intro, just go straight into the work. But if you do have some kind of intro, make some effort. Take this, or this. I've immediately got a big fat grin on my face. It's his to lose now. Talking of losing things, send them to your website. This takes no time or effort at all. I'm assuming that you all have websites. If a potential client asks for showreels, send them a link to your showreel page on your website, not say a Vimeo link. Why? The client might like your reel and want to find out more about you. They're already on your website. You're not making them click around on Vimeo or LinkedIn looking for it. But I just responded to their post, I hear you cry. They can just reply to that. Well yeah, but maybe they're inquiring for a colleague. Or gasp, they close their browser window and they can't find your response. Meanwhile, there's 100 other motion designers who responded that they need to check out. You might get forgotten and you've blown your chance.
You blew it!
But my website is easy to find on LinkedIn, you protest. Plus, they asked for a showreel link. You just did what they asked. Fine, but why risk it? And why not reduce the time and effort it will take for a client to respond to you? Make it as easy as possible for them to hire you. Have your info everywhere, just in case. You don't know how or when a potential client might stumble upon one of your sites. Here's an extreme example. This popped up in my YouTube feed recently. The reel is great, but there's no way for anyone to contact them. Maybe they're permanently booked and they don't need the work, and this is just a huge flex. Who knows? But for most of us mere mortals, if your videos are hosted on Vimeo or YouTube, at least have some contact info or a link to your website somewhere. And the next time someone asks for your showreel, send them to your website. Talking of websites, make your reel easy to find. I recently asked for showreels, and someone sent me to the homepage of their website, which looks a bit like this. I'm using my reel instead of theirs, but the UI is the same. They had a mute version of their showreel embedded on the main page, but I wanted to see the actual reel and be able to rewind or pause if I wanted. I clicked around on their site and eventually found a link to their showreel, but it was buried in their project page, and I had to hover over each thumbnail before I found it. It was frustrating. Do you expect a client to bother doing this? Do you even want to risk that? Make it as easy as possible for them to hire you. I can't stress this enough. Your reel is the most important thing on your website. Don't make it hard to find. Here's one simple fix. Don't disable player controls. I get it. You want your site to look clean and slick. Look at this. I press play and immediately the icon disappears. Compare it to my reel, which is covered in Vimeo's player controls, and I have to wait a few seconds for them to disappear. By all means, have a clean, customized video player UI, but never make it impossible for a client to rewind. What if they spot something on your reel they like and they want to rewatch it? You're making it incredibly difficult for them to assess you. Also, there's no audio controls. The reel is great, and I personally love the music. But a client might be in a shared office without headphones, or they're listening to a podcast or the radio, and they don't want to be subjected to what a bunch of motion designers consider music, because they've got 100 reels to check. They might simply move on to the next applicant. You don't know. It's not like there aren't enough motion designers out there. Make it as easy as possible for them to hire you. Not to mention, part of our job is considering the experience of the end user. That client might think, if you haven't considered this, what else might you fail to consider if they hire you? Like I say, this work is great, and the reason that I'm showing Nacho's site here isn't to call him out on this stuff, in fact the opposite. He's done loads right, his reel is fantastic, plus it's easy to find on his site. Also, he's bothered to include credits. This costs you nothing, and I would urge you to do something similar. Break down the work on your reel with time codes and your role. I'd also put the date, but we'll come back to that. Your role is especially important with 3D work, where you may have only lit, modelled, or textured elements in a scene, or if a client wants to assess your design skills. Some people have lower thirds on their reels. I'm personally not a huge fan. I like to see your work as it was meant to be seen. Mind you, I get anxiety when there's a watermark on a film I'm watching on TV, so hey, do whatever you like. But for God's sake, keep them subtle. This is a little bit distracting. This is a good example. As I say, I'd go further and include dates. Some clients want to know how old your work is. I recently asked and got some vague responses. Put the dates. The information is there if the client wants it, and it potentially saves them an email asking you. In fact, a good thing to do is anticipate any questions the client might have, and then include that info on your website to save them having to ask. Make it as easy as possible for them to hire you. How broad a time frame is it acceptable to draw work from, or doesn't it matter as long as you specify when it was done? From the responses that I got, most people seem to have work from the past few years. Emmanuel Colombo has work going back 10 years, but at least he states it, and he's Emmanuel Colombo. Oh, one more thing. Show you value your clients. Having permission to feature the work on your reel goes without saying, but what really shows class is something like this. Don't copy this word for word, obviously, but think about having something on your website which demonstrates that you value your clients. For one thing, it acknowledges who paid for your reel. Some clients are kind of fussy in that they prefer it to be about them and not you. And something as simple as this could convince them that you feel the same. Remove one piece of work, or tweak it. Everyone knows that you should start and end strong, but the worst piece of work can let you down. I've seen some amazing showreels which inexplicably contained a piece of work which just wasn't at the same standard. I don't know why it was on there, possibly the motion designer thought it showed a broader range of projects, but for me it just stuck out in a bad way. Run your showreel past some trusted peers, ask for honest feedback, and see if you've done something similar.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
If so, the easiest thing to do is just remove it. Can tweak the work. If it's a client project where there are certain elements you don't think reflect well on you, ask permission to change them for your reel. Remember, clients will judge you based on the weakest work on your reel, as well as the strongest. Anyway, that's it for this video. 7 showreel tips to help you get hired. I hope it was useful. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.